tone chaser. That thing you hear in your head that you just can't quite get.
Hello, Tone Chasers. How are you? So this is another remarkable interview I did back during the mid-'80s when I was going to be working on Edward's authorized biography. I did this interview with Wayne Charvel on May 24th, 1985. He originally had his shop located in Azusa, which he had sold. He later moved to Glendora, and that facility was sold. Where I met him on this occasion, I cannot tell you. I do not know where it was. But I can tell you that Wayne was open and informative and talked about life with Edward and guitar bodies and early Charvel guitars and working with Blackmore and all kinds of famous guitar players. So sit back, take a listen to Wayne Charvel, May 24, 1985. See you guys.
Was he shy?
Yeah, real bashful. I tried to fix him up with my, had a 17-year-old secretary that was a really cute little gal. And she was rather, a little bit on the promiscuous side, unbeknownst to him. And just for, we're all kidding around and everything. One day he came up in that green van. And I said, hey, Lisa, why don't you jump in the van with Eddie? And he just kind of turned red.
Really?
Yeah. Now, this was when they were on the verge of, right when they finished the album or just before they finished it.
Right.
And he was not popular by any means then, but still, I think they were just playing on the radio, but still nobody paid that much attention to her. She was kind of a groupie, tended to be more of a groupie type of girl. Mm-hmm. And she was ready to go. She was really, really a pretty girl.
Really? What was her name?
Lisa Wolf.
Lisa Wolf.
Yeah.
Did they ever get together at all? I mean, did you ever go out there?
No, never did.
So
I bet she regrets it to this day.
She does too.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah. So when was the first time? How and when did you meet Edward?
He came into my store. I had a store called Charvel's Guitar Repair in Azusa. On Arrow Highway and Azusa Avenue. He came in there one day, and I'd heard about him from some of the other kids around. At that time I had 3 full-time guitar repairmen working for me, so we had a good business going. We were doing everything for everybody, all the LA crowd, Palm Springs, we were doing everything. Mm-hmm. And we were making bodies at that time, and slowly getting into to where we, making guitars. Anyway, he came in and had a pickup that was squealing on him. So I told him how to cure that by dipping it, soaking it in hot wax. And
had he ever heard of anything like that before?
No, not to my knowledge. No. Bob Lulai, one of the all-time electronics genius, told me about it and said he's never tried it before, but he thought it would work because they did it with transformers and amplifiers to keep the windings from buzzing. So I went and tried it, and I said, man, this works great. Because feedback, the feedback causes the wire in the pickup to vibrate, and that causes a feedback, an oscillation, which causes the feedback. So if you theoretically, what you're doing is keeping that wire in a solid state form, and that eliminates a good 90% of it, sometimes all of it. So we tried it, and he liked it, and then he started bringing pickups in, and then he brought a DiMarzio pickup in one day, and we were talking while we were dipping it and shooting the BS, and it melted. It just shriveled up because he'd used some sort of plastic that wasn't conducive to having heat put on it. Later, I took that pickup back to DiMarzio at one of the NAMM shows and laid it on his desk, and I said, hey, you guys sent me a defective pickup. He got a real kick out of that. But
so he just heard of you through just word of mouth?
Just walked in the store one day, yeah. And then when he used to come in, and while I was potting the pickups or doing whatever he was doing, he'd sit on the floor his legs crossed and play whatever guitar was handy, and sometimes his own guitar. And I knew he was real good, because he was real different. He was different than anybody. And I'd played guitar 12 years in nightclubs prior to that, see, and I was never much of a guitar player, but I knew this kid was real good, and everybody was raving about him, and everybody was talking about him, even then.
Oh, really?
But by the same token, I'd seen a lot of kids that were good, and I've seen a lot of nightclub performers that were killers that never made it. So I was always kind of, our group tried to make it. We had 4 records, and they were out in all the places, and we never did make it. And so I was a little apprehensive about anybody. I'm an optimistic person, but I'm a little bit pessimistic when I hear people doing this and doing that. The background noise there. So we moved up to our other shop and started Charvel's manufacturing.
And that was where?
That was up in San Dimas.
Where they are now?
Yeah, across the street from where they are now. He brought Michael Anthony, the bass player. Mike's a real nice guy.
Yeah, Mike's good.
Got along really great with Mike. Mike and I'd sit and talk. And so was Ed. Ed was a real nice guy. A little bit kind of laid back and a little bit shy, where Mike was a little bit more outgoing. And when we got up there, we started doing, I had some bodies laying around there, and he was asking about them. It's hard to recollect all the things, but when they'd come in, they one time Eddie and Mike saw these respirators that you use for painting guitars, and they have the two filters into one. And I had 3 or 4 of these things laying around. And they said, "Wow, what are those?" And this is when they were playing before they made it. When they were playing down in the Hollywood clubs and stuff and parties and stuff. And I said, "Oh, you guys want one of those?" So I had half a dozen of them laying around. And they said, "Oh, wow," and I put them on. Oh, this is great, So I gave them some respirators, and I had some World War II atom bomb blast goggles, leather goggles with the real dark red lenses, so that the military could look at the atom bombs. I had those laying on the bench, and they wanted those, and so I gave them those, and they thought that was great, goggles and the respirator. And then going back when we were in our other shop, I just thought of this. Eddie had a brand new Ibanez Destroyer Explorer copy thing, and he wanted me to paint it black, and I didn't have time to do it. I says,
what color was it?
It was natural, a natural color. And he says, "Can you paint this black?" And I says, "Yeah." "How long will it take?" And I said, "Oh man, we're about 3 months. It's going to take 3 months before I can even begin to get it for you." I said, "It's brand new. What do you? It looks great, Ed." He says, "Oh, I want it black." So then we moved to the other shop, and he came up there and he drilled holes all the way through it. You know what a Star guitar looks like? They're like an Explorer.
Yeah, the Charvel Star.
Yeah, the Star. Yeah, they're let's see, they're Explorers like this, right?
Right.
Okay. He had drilled holes all the way down like this, like a shark or something. And after he did that, he took a saw and cut through the center of the hole, so you had a hole like this. Now when you cut through the half of it, you ended up with
half a hole.
This all the way down, right?
Like a serrated edge.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe he did that to that brand new guitar. It was like, hey, if I can't get it painted, I'm going to do something else. And he just completely thrashed it up. And
he ruined it too, didn't he? I mean, it ruined the sound, I think.
I don't know. I never did hear the outcome of it. And then, he was always taking screwdrivers and just really gouging out stuff and dropping pickups in. But that was good because that's the way to experiment. How are you going to find out what works?
Right.
So but anyway, after we did, I gave him one body, and he painted it white in his garage or something with spray cans, he told me. He painted it white. He'll probably, can add to this. And then he put tape around it. right? And then when they got the album out, they surprised me one day, and he came up, they gave me this album, that first album, and it said guitar, or special thanks to Wayne Charvel, or something from Charvel. You saw that.
Yeah.
And I was excited about that, but I still wasn't sure if the album was going to go. I thought, okay, if it goes, that'll be great. You know, my name on an album, super. But I had 5 or 6 albums at home with my name on it. 0 business from them, right? It's nice. I've still got a bunch of them. And so then when they started making it real big, we started getting calls from music dealers all over the United States. Who's this Van Halen guy? What's he doing? What kind of a guitar is he playing? We want some guitars like that with stripes on them. And I told them, I said, hey, these guitars are, the one Eddie did, it's painted white with a spray can and black electrical tape on it. I won't paint you a guitar and put black tape on it. It'll come off, it'll look terrible, but I will paint stripes in for you. And so we just got deluged with phone orders for Van Halen guitars. And I'm telling you, we started making Van Halen style guitars. And at that particular time, I was so stressed out with everything coming down, 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day, no family life, no private life, that I said, I got to sell this place, and that's when I decided to sell it to Grover. I've always been on real good terms with Eddie and Mike. You know, just I'm an easygoing guy. I like talking to people. I like people, and we had a good rapport. And at that particular time, I was building a guitar for Eddie and building a couple of bass. Well, so we built a coil wood bass for Mike, and then we built I was in the midst of painting another bass, building another bass for Mike. And I sold the company. Meanwhile, I guess they were on the road somewhere. I didn't hear from them for a while. Sold the company, Grover, and I had to get out of the place. And I left. Well, Grover's. I don't want to badmouth Grover, but
no, but I'd like to know the story.
Okay,
I know
you can do it in your own words.
Bad blood there.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the man's. He's a good businessman. I have to give credit where credit's due, and I always call a spade a spade. Good businessman. He alienates people through his harsh tactics, dealing with people. My personal philosophy on business is you don't have to do that. You can be stern, get your price, but be nice to people. I can go back to anybody that I've ever dealt with. And I say, hey, that Wayne's a good guy. At least I hope they'll say that. Never screwed anybody, never had any bad vibes with anybody on anything. And I've been screwed plenty of times myself. However, anyway, I sold it to him. Well, I guess it was about a year later, so I'd given him Harold Cowart, the bass player for the Bee Gees. I left Grover with ZZ Top, left all those named people with him. Well, somehow or another, he must have pissed Van Halen off, because they sued him for $1 million. At least that's what Grover told me. And I thought, God, why would those nice guys sue Grover? And then I remembered, well, he's probably done something to really make him mad. I found out later that what he'd done was use their name in their advertising without permission. So probably Noel Monk, who was the manager, I believe at that time, probably got thinking, well, why should we let this guy use their name when they don't even know him or don't care for him and make money, and we're not getting anything, see? Because I offered, after that, I called Noel Monk, and, if you're going to use somebody's name, then give them a piece of the action. Don't just try and steal it from them. Then you both make money and you're happy, right? And you avoid all that. But Grover obviously wanted all the bananas for himself.
So Ed had no qualms about you painting or building guitars like the one he had put together at that point?
No. Not to the best of my knowledge. We probably built 20, 30, something like that. Yeah.
So when did you sell the business to Grover? What year was that?
78. 1978. Matter of fact, they did a little blurb in Guitar Player magazine on And the questions, I don't know. Did you see that? No. And the questions. What issue was that, Trev? That guitar player? I don't know if that'll be of any value to you. I think it was. But it's got the dates in there because I had to look it up on the business contract. I couldn't remember. Yeah, I think it was last month's issue. Then, this is just kind of off the record. In case you might want to do something on Billy Gibbons, I talked with him at length. Now, Billy and I want to show you the guitars I made for him. I built these car guitars for him, which are, I don't have any of the ones of them smoking right here. Here's the bass. Right here, this is a chrome tube going inside the body. There's a smoke tank in there filled with powder with a little miniature train motor that I beefed up from 9,000 RPM to 18,000 RPMs. The mag wheels, those are actually aluminum, turned out on a lathe with the little knockoffs. The knockoffs are the volume and tone control.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's a three-way switch. Flip the switch, it lights the smoke powder. It's an aluminum milled out box. Lights the powder, put it back to neutral, and then you put the switch on the motor run and it blows smoke out the back. So I did those for them, and somehow or another, it's a 57 Chevy car guitar for the guy that does the Night Rider stuff. There's a close-up of the wheel. You can see all the little rivets in it and everything. But
that's great.
Billy Gibbons is a really neat guy.
Yeah, Billy's a good guy. I know Billy. Yeah.
It'd be neat for you to write a book on him. I think he'd sell a lot of books.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah. But anyway, that's about all I can tell you about Eddie, other than
there's a lot more than that. We just begun here.
Yeah.
So did Ed had his own guitars obviously before he came into you. I mean, do you remember what kinds of guitars he mentioned? The Ibanez.
Oh, he had an Ibanez, and
was he playing a Strat, or was he playing a 335?
I think he said he was playing a 335. I can't remember. I don't think I ever saw it though. That was about 9 years ago.
Yeah. So he got the body on the cover of the first record from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a body was it? You remember?
It was one that we made. The body that we made.
Well, it was a one pickup.
I think I think it was a Strat cut for 3 Strat pickups, and he chiseled it out and put one humbucking in it. Pretty sure. I can vaguely remember him bringing it back up, and it was white. But one thing I do remember about it, he'd taken either a chisel or a screwdriver and chiseled the pickup thing out.
I see.
And screwed the pickup, I think, directly to the body. I don't think he had a pickguard on that one. I can't remember. I don't think he did though.
Well, he must have done something to cover up the first 2 pickup cutouts, though. Didn't he put a pickguard over that?
He might have. I know he did. He did have one. Either I can't remember if we made him one or we gave him the plastic or what. But I think at one time he did have plastic pickguard on one. With the because after a while we started making those pickguards with one humbucker.
Really?
You might call it an Eddie Van Halen pickguard.
So I mean, that had never really been done before, then, had it?
One pickup in it? I don't know. I think that just about everything's been done, but whether or not, I think you could safely say that Eddie was probably the original guy that applied the use of one humbucking and one volume control, knowing. And I used to do concerts. See, we used to do all Three Dog Night and PA stuff. When you're playing for a lot of people, that bass pickup's almost useless, that rhythm pickup. So all you really need is one pickup. And the tone control's useless. All you need is a tone control. Because you've got it in order to project so that you're not involved in the other guy's frequency.
Right.
If everybody can get out of the other guy's frequency, the thing sounds clean. Sounds nice to the audience, and I think he's got a great ear, so he, picked that up right away. He sensed that this is useless. Why bother with it? That's so I would safely say that he's the guy that started the whole one pickup, one volume tremolo. I mean, he brought the tremolo back, put it back on the map again. Guys were using them, but I'd say about 99% of everybody that we build a guitar for has to have a tremolo, and everybody's influenced by Eddie Van Halen on it. And that's no BS either.
He got the neck from you too, didn't he?
Yeah. We also did a neck. We had a Dan Electro guitar in there with a flat fingerboard.
Yeah.
Are you a guitar player?
Yes.
Okay, you know what Dan Electros are. Great little guitars, great necks, and everything. No truss rod in them. Stayed in tune. The necks never warped. Never seen a bad Dan Electro. Short scale. Well, he was playing that. I think it belonged to Carl Sandoval. That guitar. I can't remember. It was either mine or his. And Eddie was playing. And he goes, "Wow, this is great because you can get the action low on a flat fingerboard and bend the string without it choking up." So he says, "Man, I've got to have one of these necks. Can you put one on the strap body?" And I said, "Well, the scale's shorter. We'll have to fill in where the hole is, or not route it, and put the bridge up closer." So we did a guitar like that too, and he's knocked out by that. And then I can't remember. You'll have to try to pull some of this out of my memory because I can't remember a lot of the things.
Wasn't that first body and neck seconds that Lynn Ellsworth had sold to you? Is that right? Because I just talked to Lynn.
At that time, we were getting some necks and some bodies from Lynn, but we had our routers and we were making bodies. The best of my recollection was the neck was probably an Ellsworth neck, and the body was ours. As far as I know, that first white one, I'm pretty sure it was our body.
So what kind of wood would that have been then?
It was either alder or ash, and I think it was ash. We were doing a lot of ash bodies. I would be probably certain in saying it was ash. You could probably double check with him if you wanted to. Yeah, when you're writing a book, you want to try to get it as authentic as possible. Right. And I've tried to think of everything for you that I know's 100% accurate, so that you don't get some especially when I know you're going to go back and talk to him. And to the best of my recollection, and I could be off a little bit on some of these things, but I think I'm pretty right on it. And then again, Eddie could have forgotten too.
Yeah, he forgets a lot of things like that.
You can imagine the impact of all of a sudden just being Joe Blow on the street, and within a year's time he's...
Did you see him after the record had come out and they started to really happen? Did he used to come back in the shop? I mean...
Yeah.
Did he seem...
A few times.
Did he seem...
Seem the same.
Seem
the same. I've dealt with a lot of people, a lot of rich people that I've dealt with over the years. And I'll tell you what happens to them. They become almost recluse. You see, when you get somebody telling you you're great 24 hours a day, if you don't have your act together, you're going to start believing it. See, if a guy's really got everything in perspective, he knows within himself. He may admit to himself, "I'm pretty good, but I need work." Everybody knows their hang-ups and their faults. The problem with a lot of guys, I don't know if it's happened to him or not. Hopefully it hasn't. They lose their perspective, and they think. Then pretty soon they'll have a bad night, and everybody still keeps saying how great they are. So then they don't believe these people anymore. These group of followers. And then they don't know who to believe. They don't know if a guy likes them because they're just plain old Eddie Van Halen, or what does this guy want from me? So then they start getting standoffish, and they don't really know who their real friends are. Right. And it becomes a problem. It becomes a real problem, especially when I deal with guys that have already made it, like Billy Gibbons. The first time he came into the shop, he was a real nice guy, real down-home country guy, cowboy hat and the whole thing. And we got to talking, and I said, "Look, I want you to know something right straight out. I know you're Billy Gibbons. I know you got a lot of money." At that time, I had quite a bit of money. I was doing well, a new Cadillac and the whole enchilada. I said, "You got a lot of money. I'm doing okay. Your price on this guitar is going to be the same as if anybody else come in. I'm not going to get to you just because you're Billy Gibbons. If I wanted to get to you, I'm going to get to you for a couple $100,000, not for 2 or 3 more hundred." And boy, that broke the ice. And he says, "God dang, that's great." And he shook my hand. he went and measured everybody's heads for cowboy hats and sent us all cowboy hats. A month later, we got cowboy hats in the mail, big boxes. But I wanted to let him know right off the bat so we could have a nice relationship going that we were, go ahead, Bob, that we were, that's where I was, and I meant it,
So when you finally heard Ed's guitar on album, I mean, were you kind of
Yeah, I was real
impressed
impressed.
by what he'd done?
Oh, yeah, I was real impressed. I thought to myself then, that kid's going somewhere. It just didn't take much. You didn't have to be very much of a guitar player to realize he was doing stuff that nobody even thought of doing before. There was a guy named Eddie Kay years ago that was doing that Van Halen stuff. Years and years ago. He was the only guy I ever saw do it.
Really?
So it wasn't brand new. But I don't think Eddie heard about this guy.
Was he like a jazz guy or something?
He was a jazz type guitar player, and he played rock and roll, and he was doing all this,
The Hammer stuff?
all that stuff, just like Van Halen. And he'd done some recording with the Walker Brothers, and
The English Walker Brothers? Really?
His real name's Ed Klinkhammer, but
Klinkhammer?
but he went to Eddie Kay.
K-A-Y?
Yeah. And he's a real monster on guitar. Still is, although he probably couldn't touch Eddie now. But Eddie's real fast.
So, did you actually help Ed put together guitars, or put frets in, or help?
No, he did all. He did. We just gave him the stuff, and he'd do it. He was kind of a what you call a guitar tinkerer, you might say. He liked to mess around with it. I do remember him saying that he'd be up in his room practicing all the time, and then I assumed that, while other kids are going out partying, he was up there on the weekends and during the week and so forth, playing his guitar. And that's good. That's the only way you're going to, how else are you going to do it?
So, did you later see him in concert and playing and stuff?
No.
Never seen him play?
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah, I saw him once. But I didn't. I've never actually seen him in concert after they made it. I saw him playing before in the clubs. Yeah, too many things to do at that time. Just, I was going around like a zombie. Believe me. That's why I'm up here.
Yeah.
Have a lot of fun here. Do what I want to do. Manufacture truck parts. Mess around with hot rods.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, we do. We manufacture some truck parts and we build a few guitars. Have a great time. That's what life's about.
Could you talk a little bit more about Grover? I mean, how much interaction did you have to him in terms of Grover? Here's my business, and here's what I know, and there was a lot of passing on of knowledge. And
okay, Grover. Yeah, Grover was came to me just before we moved into our shop, and laid it on real thick. He had a real good personality. I liked the guy. And we started getting more and more business. I realized that I couldn't do everything. I couldn't do the books. I couldn't answer the phone and build guitars and work on machinery and talk to customers. And Grover was working for Anvil Case Company for Wayne Thompson at that time, and had a lot of. Wayne Thompson was a killer businessman. Really knew how to make business work. Took Anvil and just turned it into it was a dying company. I bought it from Larry somebody, which was dying, and turned it over and made it big. And Grover learned a lot of this, yelling and screaming at people to make people do things, business tactics from Wayne Thompson, and applied that to our company. However, we were strapped for cash at that time. The cash flow was always a problem. I mean, we were doing $225,000 a year or so, and still had a cash problem. And you run into that problem. This is why $5 million a year companies all of a sudden need to borrow $200,000. If they can't borrow it, they go down the tube. You see, even though they're making a lot of money, you need cash in reserve. You need to be able to get this and this and this. So anyway, Grover was good at business, so I put him up in the front desk. Says, "You do it." And he worked real hard, and he said, "I'd like a piece of the action."
Oh, so he was actually an employee.
He was an employee
for a while.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
Oh, I guess he worked for me for probably about a year or so. And, I said, fine, what do you want? He says, I'd like to have 10%. And I said, well, you're doing a good job. Handling all the BS for me, that's fair. So you got it. Have 10% of it.
So you signed him over 10%.
Yeah. So then he started coming in bad moods every day, to the point where Carl Sandoval, one of my chief guys.
I met Carl once, yeah.
Yeah, real nice guy. He's in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask Carl. Carl will attest to anything that I'm telling you now. You won't play this for Grover. I don't care if you do anyway. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't, you're not going to print it. I don't like to go around bad mouthing people. Anyway, he does his thing the way he wants to, and that's the way he sees it, and I do mine, and that's life. He started coming in really bad moods and real depressed, and he kept going, man, we're in trouble. We don't have the money to do this. We can't do that. They're going to do this now. Well, he kept doing this, and unbeknownst to me at that time, this was a business tactic, to get me to sell the business to him. My lawyer and I figured this out later. And he kept saying, oh, we're broke. And we were running the money. Got it? In
your younger days, you would have had enough in arms about that one, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Nothing phases me anymore. You gotta, go with the wind. Anyway, when someone keeps telling you how bad business is, and we're gonna go under, we're gonna do this, pretty soon you start believing it, if you trust the guy, Mr. Naive. And so finally, I decided I wanted to sell the business and get out of the whole mess. And banks won't loan you money unless you can prove you need it. You know that story. So I had $40,000 worth of, no, I had $85,000 worth of NAMSH orders that Schechter people took in Chicago, and took them down to the bank and wanted to borrow $20,000 on them to get the orders out. They wouldn't talk to me. That kind of stuff, just it's one slap in the face after another. And I didn't know that much about business, to be honest with you. I knew how to make guitars, and I knew how to sell guitars and deal with people. And I wasn't really a businessman, and I didn't really claim to be. And here I was, all of a sudden overnight, with this great big business, and didn't really know. And Grover really didn't know. We were all just kind of guessing at that time what to do. And lack of experience. Experience is the best teacher. And so I decided, once I got that in my mind, I wanted to sell it. Nobody was going to get that out of my mind. I found out later that in the midst of all these things coming down on me, I was in a lot better shape than I realized. Grover had been making deals on the phone with people like Larry DiMarzio to run bodies for him. See, our problem was cash flow, not a business. We had plenty of business, but we needed cash flow. We needed X amount of dollars every month coming in, come hell or high water, to keep everything, all the employees paid and everything, right? In order to do that, you can't depend on street trade. You have to have contracts with so-and-so for X amount of bodies and X amount of next whatever. So Grover was making a deal with DiMarzio on the phone, since I was letting him run the business, and on the phone, he knew the business better than I did. Well, he made a deal with Larry DiMarzio. I forgot how many bodies a month they were going to start doing. So he says to me one day, he says, I'd like to buy the business, Wayne. And I says, great. You'd be the perfect person to take it over, since you know it. And I'm still naive at this point. You'd be the perfect person to take it over, because you know it, and then I won't have to advertise and sell it and all that. He says, good, well, I'll give you $3,500 down and pay the rest in 3-4 months or whatever. Pay off all of them, take over all your liabilities. And I said, good. And I saw a way out. At that time, I had my house sold, and I had plenty of cash, and so I wasn't worried about thinking too much about the future. Wasn't thinking too clearly at that time. And so I sold the house, sold him the business. Took him forever to pay me stuck me for income tax, didn't pay off any of the people he said he was going to do in the amounts he said. I owed $5,000-6,000 to one of my good friends, a machinist. He told the guy he wasn't going to pay him anything at all, but if he'd settle for $2,500 cash right now, he'd pay him off. So what's the guy going to do? You know, it's either get 25 or nothing, right? He did that with everybody. It was all planned ahead of time. He had a contract with DiMarzio. The minute I left, they were cranking out bodies and everything, and he just picked the business up. At that time, he was buying the money that would come in. He was buying stuff. Once I agreed to sell it to him, he all of a sudden started buying stuff. Cutters, bought a milling machine, all with basically what was my money. And I feel he really did a number on me, but I feel it was my fault.
Takes two to tango.
If you looked at it in God's eyes, he really screwed me bad. If you look at it in a business point of view, I was a stupid ass for letting him get to me. That's all. However, I try to look at things fairly. I wouldn't do that to anybody. You know, I have to go to sleep at night, see? If I'm selling you something, I'm going to want you to have a fair deal, or I'm not going to do it. So that's where it was. But
so what did he ultimately pay for the business?
About $38,000, something like that. And stuck me. I left a router there that I only owed $1,000 on, and he sold that for God knows how much, that I was supposed to come and pick up.
Are you kidding? Your property?
Yeah. Sold that. He sold a neck carving machine. He called me. He says, "Man," he says, "I'm going to go under if you don't let me sell that neck carving machine. I got it sold for $900. If I don't get the $900, I'm going to dump this thing right back in your lap again." Well, really, he didn't need the neck carver, so he sold it and put $900 in his pocket. See? Plus, actually, he probably ended up getting that business for nothing through all the people that he. And I found this out, 2 or 3 years later. I'd see these guys, and I'd say, "Boy, that Grover really, he didn't pay me anything." You're kidding. And then one of my friends, Pat Wartank, he owed some money to. Didn't finish off paying. And that's you can do that. A lot of business guys do that, and it seems like the guys that are successful in business, it seems like they're the ones that do that. Schechter, they did this. Dave Schechter's a beautiful guy, real straight guy, wouldn't harm a fly. Got involved with Herschel Blankenship, Sheldon Horlick. They did numbers on everybody. They're good businessmen, but their business tactics are really unethical, and they'll knife you in the back. However, the bottom line with them is paper. What is it on? Sheldon told me, when you're dealing in business, you change the word fair to what's equitable. Don't even start talking about fair deals. What's equitable for you? And hell with the other guys. So, I guess I wasn't cut out to be that kind of a guy. If that's what, in other words, if that's what it takes to make Grover is doing $2 or $3 million a year or whatever, if it takes that to be in business to make that kind of money, then I'd rather be up here, because the money is just a tool anyway. Money isn't my whole reason in life. Does not revolve around making money.
Hey, Tone Chasers, how are you? Look, guys, I hope you dug the interview. Listen, I know a lot of you have written and left comments, and you have dug the interview. If you'd like to show your appreciation, I would really love a review up on Amazon. Just go to Amazon. You can type in Tone Chaser. You'll find my page. If you didn't buy the book on Amazon, it's cool. You can still leave a review. So that's about it, guys. I will talk to you later. Volume 3 is here, T3. So I hope you guys have your copies. And if not, you can go check it out on my webpage, tonechaserbook.com. See you, everybody. Thank you. V for Van Halen.